Hello my friends, welcome to the second video about the organization of the attic. In the previous video we've seen the fundamentals, on one hand the structural elements and on the second hand the main principles for the organization. In the present video I'm inviting you to make a little round of this attic so that you can see concretely how I organized it. Of course on your side it will not be exactly the same, nevertheless I'm sure that there will be some good ideas that you can take out of this video. Let's go! So you can see here on the sides the recycled furniture I'm using. These are old kitchen cupboards, so partially things I had already or things I found in the street. So a very good example are these old IKEA Pax shelves, also found in the street. And then of course we'll have the tailor-made shelves for the attic. So now let's make a little turn of my attic. Of course your case will be probably different than mine, so let's have a little visit of the way that I stored the things in my attic. And this will also be the opportunity for seeing which are the ideal way of storing. So I'm starting right now with this side here, which are essentially table games, and this is a good illustration because if these games wouldn't be accessible I would basically never use them. Here they're all together, I have a good overview, I have a lot of choice, I will have a meaningful way of spending my winter. A good example of putting the things together is my disco shelf. I have here the lights for organizing a good party. Also the table de mixage, the mixing table in the back. For the textile you see here that I'm using plastic boxes. This is a big advantage of the attic, that it's a dry room, to the opposite of the cellar for instance, so there's no risk of moisture. And here in each of these boxes I still put anti-meat product against meat, just in case. And you can see here that the accessibility is absolutely perfect because they are on shelves. So here a good example of using shelves. So here I've put the boxes in shelves. This is typically when you are changing your winter clothes against your summer clothes. So the boxes are really easily accessible. On the opposite, for other type of textiles, like for instance old curtains, here I'm piling up all the boxes, I'm saving a little bit of space. I'm basically not needing the accessibility for these pieces. For the blankets or things for the bed, these big coffres are rather ideal because they are not pressing too much the things. And this, by the way, is the original blanket from the video about the Shampooer. Another good example are these saucepans. This is really great, again for my big party, because my guests need to eat and to eat well. So another thing you can keep in the attic are books. Books are sensitive essentially to one thing, which is mices or other types of rongeurs, but the likelihood that you will have this in your attic is very low. In my case, I'm storing here my tourists' guides because I don't use them on a daily basis. Nevertheless, of course, the best is to take the guides at the public library because the lifespan of a guide is limited. Nevertheless, you may have some differences. For instance, Lonely Planets or Guide du Routard or Petit Futé have a rather short duration. On the opposite, the green guides from Michelin much longer because it's with history, it's with guides, it doesn't change so much so that you can use. And of course, the record lifetime is the blue guides because these are essentially about history, very detailed, so the duration of these guides is rather long. Of course, if you are a big traveler, you can keep your guides in your bookcase in the living room. On one hand, this will remind you the excellent memories you have gathered in your trips, and will also be the occasion for you to share with your friends your collection of trips. And that's not without reminding me my friend Natalia, which has in her short life already visited 70 countries around the world. Another good example are the instruction manuals. So of course today you can find them more and more on internet. But on one hand, this will remove you from the screen for a little occasion. Also nice to have the paper version. And of course you will be keeping the instruction manuals of all objects or all equipment which is still functional, for which you have no chance of finding the instruction manual on the internet. Here it's also worth, like every 5 years, to make a little check and to get rid of all the instruction manuals for the things you don't have anymore. Keeping the instruction manuals also will give more value to the things that you are selling second-hand, because of course with the instruction manual it has more value than without. So here I also have a couple of frames and canvases. And in this case, contrary to the principle of the storage, I couldn't put all the frames together. This is a question of size. So here I have all the big ones, and in another part I have the small frames. Another example is of course the luggage. So you're putting everything together when you're going for a trip. You have already everything in front of you, so you can choose the right size of your luggage. And same thing for the big luggage, they are all together here. Another example is objects I found on the flea market, which I didn't have yet the time to restore, such as this very nice little piano table. In any case, it remains a very fascinating tool. Then we're going towards the bigger pieces. You see here this very nice piano chair. It's really an exceptional realization. Here, this is certainly old. It's probably original leather, this one as well. But it deserves some repair works for making sure that the feet are stable enough. Then I found this pair of I don't know what. One good example of old objects which have a still good functional value are these armchairs. These armchairs were here in the house when we bought it. And they're not very nice, not very beautiful. Nevertheless, they have a little function which is very, very pleasant. And talking about old objects, I have to share here the existence of a very nice song from Philippe Katherine, a French singer, very famous singer. I've already mentioned Philippe Katherine in the video about the hi-fi system. This song, in French of course, is called Les Objets, and it's really a very nice song I warmly recommend.
Les objets vivent plus longtemps, les objets vivent plus longtemps que les gens.
Then you may have some oversized objects. Here, for instance, I have plenty of hangers. So here it's not because I'm collecting hangers, it's just because I need hangers and I need a little bit of time for restoring them. And you see here, by the way, also one very nice piece you've already seen in my videos about the return from the flea market. And also this holder. And this holder is a kind of lifesaver because I'm now restoring the butterfly mirror. And this is exactly the type of handle which was broken on the one I'm restoring. So here a good example of an object which is not easy to store. This here is a Christmas decoration offered by my brother Alex. You have already seen in my video about the safety instructions for your move with your personal car. And this typically is not easy to store, so this is one of the pieces I will hang on the roof. So what is not very easy to store are objects like these ones, already the mentioned Christmas decoration. Here another Christmas decoration, which is a Christmas tree made out of iron grillage. And classically what is not easy to store are chandeliers. I will now hang on the roof. And I put the things here because there's a table below, so there's no risk my head to hit it when I'm walking around. So you see here that I put the objects which are not very convenient to store, simply with a little hook, and here this little Christmas tree. And then I put some plastic clamps for holding the bottom, which is not holding otherwise. Then we still have this piece to place. This is a wonderful wall lamp to be restored. I have also a video about that. As the small hooks are not big enough, I will put a bigger one. Then I have also here a section with long objects, so they are somehow oversized, so I put them all together. It's essentially carpets, but not only, there's also a bit of textile. There is also a projection screen, there are also des stores. So all these long objects are all together here. And you see here also a couple of vacuum cleaners. So this here is almost a cemetery, but they're still working, but not so good. So I'm keeping them for whenever I have time for repairing them. Don't miss out my very nice video about the vacuum cleaners. One little remark about the dust. Of course, the attic is taking some dust, especially in case you have a chimney. Don't hesitate to watch my series about how to lighten a fire in the chimney or the fire stove. As to the mattresses, you see here an old bed which followed me in my several lives, and now I'm using it for storing my mattresses because sometimes we are very numerous here. But of course we can also use it here for having an additional room. So this is an interesting case. So typically this is a type of object which should be protected by a plastic sheet, because otherwise the dust will be penetrating really in depth into the mattress, and that's not something we want. So let's cover it now with a plastic sheet. That's it, my friends. Now the mattresses are perfectly protected. This, by the way, is a big sheet I got from a conference of the Enterprise Europe Network, which is a European network I've already mentioned in my video about the best urban bicycle. So in case you have some objects which are difficult to clean or a little bit sensitive, you can wrap them into a plastic bag so that the day you will need them, you can use them immediately. This, for instance, here is a suspension. Don't hesitate to watch my video about how to install a suspension on the ceiling. On a regular basis, like every year or every second year, give your attic a little bit of cleaning. This will give you more pleasure in practicing the active storage. That's it, my friends. Now I've shown you how I've organized my attic. I hope that this will give you some nice ideas for improving the organization of your own attic, and by this optimizing the space in the whole house. And I invite you now to join my last video of the series, which is the presentation and the demonstration of the tailor-made shelves for the attic, of course on the basis of fully recovered raw materials. So see you in a second on Happy Hour TV 1.